It's Monday, and it's April Fool's Day. And my name is April. So, I feel like the whole world calls me stupid today. I'm, in fact, not a fool. Almost smelled the lid before I made tea. Oh my goodness. Let me make sure to turn live chat on because I often forget. I am making, this morning, I'm making some wild grown white peony from Mimi Teas. I don't know. It could be MEI Teas. I might be saying it wrong. But I like it. White peony is a really good option for people who want to step into white tea but don't want to pay like the silver needle, platinum needle prices. It's basically the same. It's like the second stage. It's like the second picking after the white needle has been picked. And so, boop. And I like, I know it's a travesty to stick my hand in the back, but it is what it is. Good morning, everybody. But I like wild teas. I'm always excited when I find like they literally mean like it's a wild tea. They have discovered wild tea plants. You know that happens all the time. It's where all the cultivars come from. But it has been one that I've been enjoying over the weekend, so I'm gonna enjoy it today too. Okay, some hot water. This is the month where my life becomes. I think everyone's talking to me, and they're not. Because I say April. It's the month of April, and my name is April. But also, just so you know, I was not born in this month. I was born in July, because that's also a common thing. They're like, oh, when's your birthday in April? April? I'm like, July. um, Wild tea, it's like the actual, like, real, like, tea plant, like Camellia sinensis. I always say that wrong. But, wild tea just means that they're like finding like cultivars that grow in the wild, and so they're harvesting from the wild versus a tea plantation or things like that. And so it's really neat. It can have really unique flavors. This one in particular is really, it has like this is going to sound weird, but it has a thick mouth feel. But it's like, it's low tannin, so it's not drying to the mouth. It's buttery. It's just like, it's almost like the feeling of milk. Right. Like, it's like, but it's not milk. I just mean like that sensation that it's like, it's creamy, right? And I really like this one. Um, but yeah, so today is the beginning of the month where I just live as an April during April. And what's funny is there's this lady I knew growing up, much older than me, way older, and she was like, I told her once, I'm like, I hate this month when I was younger, really young, because I'm always like, oh, hi, I'm April. They're like, the month April? I'm like, no. Or you hear somebody say the month, or, you hear your name all the time. And she goes, well, this month I'm just going to call you Celery. And so for years, and I mean a long time, whenever I see her during this month, she's like, how's it going, Celery? And I don't, she just pulled a word out of her ass, I'm sure, uh, but yeah, it's, April Fool's Day, and I don't plan on doing tricks, because my life is one big trick this month. But it has been actually, I don't know, a weird weekend. It was both good and hard, and, I did not get a video made to even upload. Not gonna lie. I was going to on Saturday, because usually I just make the video and then I upload it, right, but then lightning way up on the mountain away from us hit the receiver for our internet, so we didn't have internet that day. And by Sunday, which was Easter, I was pretty busy. I was like, oh, I'll do a video Sunday morning. I'm like, yeah, you'll just squeeze that in right quick while you're like making all the food for dinner. Right, and so I'll probably do it sometime this week, and then if you're a member, you'll get to see it during the week, and if you're not a member, you'll see it on Saturday. And I think I'm going to do the how to make a cayenne salve still, but we did finally cut down those poplar trees. So I have a fair amount of poplar buds that they're still, when we chopped them down, cut them down, I chopped the top half of the tree off and just set it to the side so I can pick them at will. And then we wood chipped the rest of it for greenhouse. Um, and that was pretty exciting. Forgetting about my tea. Oh, she smells so nice. She's like sweet, like grass, but like in the sweetest vanilla way you can think. Like the way she smells. But we got those trees wood chipped, and in the greenhouse, I have officially uh, put down the oyster mushroom mycelium, and then the wood chips over top, so we can grow hot weather oyster mushrooms in the greenhouse just amongst the veggies, and that's cool. So like out of nowhere there'll be like bright pink or bright yellow oyster mushrooms popping up, and I picked those varieties because oh, it's so nice. I picked those varieties because they like heat and humidity, and I've got that in my greenhouse in spades come summertime, right? Other varieties might be like I've got some Italian oysters that I'm going to plant in a shady area of my garden. Um, the same way where I put straw down and then it's really wet, and then I put the sawdust mycelium spawn over top of it, and then I put the wood chips down, and then it'll just grow throughout, and the mycelium helps um, like feed your vegetables and make happy healthy soil ripe, and then I get like food out of it. Um, but I don't think she would survive the hot temperatures. I really don't. Um, I also had a bunch of extra spawn and some pieces of the poplar that were too big to go through the wood chipper. So I kind of did like a pyramid stack where it was like I put the mycelium spawn on the bottom, and then the logs, and then mycelium spawn and logs, and then more mycelium, and then I covered it in straw and wood chips and soaked it really wet. So that might take a while, but in theory those logs should be like colonized by the mycelium, and then I could move them around if I want, or I just have logs in the greenhouse that kick out mushrooms, you know. Um, but um, but yeah, I'm excited about that. Oh, also, we got two of the three potato varieties planted in the 10-gallon buckets. It's gonna take some effort. Me and my daughter did the first variety. It took us an hour or so. It's exhausting because you got to do it like layer of dirt, potatoes, layer of dirt, fertilizer, layer of dirt, all the way up, right? And we were just carrying it over by like a planter full, you know. But we did it, and then my husband helped, and my son helped with another variety, and that went, of course, faster because more hands and stronger bodies, right, for hauling dirt. And then tomorrow we'll get the last one planted, and then I'll have all of my potatoes planted, and that's feels like a good win to me. um, so I know. Oh, someone said, where do I get my dresses from? A lot of them I thrift, but anymore thrifting is more expensive in my area, at least, than buying new, which is insane to me. So like this one came off of Amazon. Usually my mod, if she sees it, will yeah, there she goes. There's a my mod is also my daughter, by the way. She'll drop the link, and you'll find it pinned in the comment section of the replay video for all the future people watching. Hey, hi. Um, and you can like click on the Amazon, like what I use like for my teapot, or if the dresses I'm wearing. This one comes in a bunch of different styles too. The same, it's the same dress as the blue one that people like, just a different pattern. But it has like 15 different patterns to choose from. I like the way it fits. It's super comfortable. Um, but anyhow, how about anybody want to see the brand new puppy? Anybody want to see Lula? I know that everybody is excited to meet her, and we were just like letting her settle in, and it's still pure chaos. Um, but all right, let's see if my husband. I told him, I said, if I do this, bring the puppy in, and so hopefully he'll see that, and I'm gonna have to move my tea table. Let's see if he hears me, if he's watching, or who is modding right now. I know my daughter's in there. um, Somebody said, or I should tell you guys, I don't know if they're hearing me. They have to have the volume down, because if they don't, I hear myself as an echo, and it's like hard for me to concentrate. So, um, maybe if everybody says in the caption, April says to bring the puppy, she'll see that, and then tell my husband to haul the puppy in here. So everybody say April says to bring the puppy in the comment section, and somebody will see that and deliver a puppy That's our plan. We can make this puppy showing happen together. Better say April says bring the puppy. Puppy time. There they come. Okay, I hear them talking now. They're like, oh, April says bring the puppy. We were calling for puppy. We were calling for Lula. We've been taking shifts. Last night was my night on the couch, and she pretty much slept all night. So that was fantastic, because I'm not up to... Here comes puppy, I think. I'm gonna scoot my tea table back. Okay. That way she doesn't knock it over, because she's not a small puppy. We're getting ready for the puppy. Hi, Lula. Oh, puppy. This is Lula. She's only 10 weeks old. Oh, I guess pushing up on 11 now. Yeah, pushing up on 11 now. This is Lula face, and she's like, what's happening? So here she is. She will be a very, very big girl, and she's a Caucasian Shepherd, but I would like to emphasize that these are not just, I mean, she's big and fluffy and adorable, but she's not just an everyday pet. You have to have real experience and a job for these dogs. She's a livestock guardian dog, and we already have a 2-year-old male who's about 200 pounds and takes his job very seriously, because we have active like wolves that are like up on our ridge, and cougars and bears and bobcats, and honestly the Pyrenees and things like that just don't cut it for us where we're at. And we really like Caucasian Shepherds, but they are a next level dog, because they're really, really amazing to their family members, and they're like very, very protective of the people they love, but they're actually pretty dangerous to strangers, and they have a high incidence of like attacking people they don't know, because that's their job. We don't have a whole lot of people come over. We have all the proper kennels. We are very aware, but also I just love Lula. She's a sweetheart. She's not showing her personality right now because she's like in my lap, but usually she's like wiggly and all over. But that is my Lula, and you'll probably see her because we're training her to be like a hybrid inside outside dog, and to like load up with us and go with us into like the woods and stuff like that, because we do deal with a lot of dangerous strangers, you know, and of course she'll be on a leash and stuff like that, but it's kind of a fuck around and find out. But usually when you've got, you know, 180 plus pound dog, they're not as likely to try and come mess with you as a female or things like that. But this is Lula, and I know everybody was waiting to see her. I don't know how much longer I'll be able to put her on my lap as she's older. But she's good, Lula. Okay. Oh, big heavy puppy. Okay. Goodbye, Lula. Okay. They get very big. It's crazy. Our male Ollie, he was walking around in the clay the other day, and his footprint is like this big. Like if somebody saw that footprint, they'd be like, "Holy shit!" Like they are meant to like take out wolves and bears like by themselves. Like they're very serious dogs. But yeah, she's a very good dog so far. She's super smart. She's already learned to sit, you know, and that is a big deal because she's only, you know, 10 weeks old. I'm pushing 11. We've barely had her less than a week now. But yeah, and she's already using the puppy pads like a pro. That's fantastic. So we'll start working her out, you know, more. And she's almost accepting of the leash. They're very, very stubborn, independent breeds. So it takes, like, for her to already be doing that is a big deal, because usually they're just like, we're going to fight you the whole way. Like, they're perpetually a teenager that doesn't care what you say, you know? Yeah, they're really big. When we got Ollie, which is the male we got a couple years back, he showed up, he was twice as big. And we were like, did they tell us he was younger than he is? Nope. He was just 10 weeks and twice the size. He's a very, very, very big dog. When he's standing up just normally, like his head, when I know I'm short, but I'm not that short. I'm 5'4". His head is to here on me when he's just standing next to me. Like, just standing. Not jumping up. That's, like, where his head is when he stands. And so he's a very big guy. But, yeah, I'm very, very excited about her. And It comes at a weird time too because like we just lost my dog Sally last spring. It was really hard on me. And then her son, who we've had for, well, his entire life, he's 12 years old now, but just last week he started going downhill, and we don't think, the vets can't figure out, and I'm trying everything I can, but, he has stopped eating. And I'm syringe feeding him, like, well, obviously without a needle on it, but like it doesn't stay in, so we're having to face like the loss. And I don't ever advocate like instantly replacing a dog with another puppy, but well, Lula was already here, and so I don't know. It's just gonna be like comforting because I know that that loss is coming. I know that Charlie won't be here with us much longer. And so having that other puppy is just, I don't know, somebody to hug, right? And it'd be, it's just weird. And Sally, that was, for those of you who have been following me for a long time, especially on Instagram, I had her for almost 15 years. Like, yeah, she's been with me through everything. Like, she was, like, on me constantly. Like, you can even see her in some of my Q&A videos and things like that. And one day she went outside, and then 10 minutes later, she was just gone. And it wasn't a predator. We had just got done going for a walk. There's a person where we live that we're pretty sure snags up dogs, because on this road it's like people's dogs constantly go missing, and it started after Sally. And then even just 2 weeks ago, somebody caught these two random ladies trying to lure a dog from their farm like into their car and like sped off. And so I don't know. I do know that she passed away. I do know that a week later, I know that dream. Like, I felt it. Like, she said bye to me. She's like, was like in a place where I like see like my ancestors all the time in my dreams. It's like, I don't know. It's like a cultural thing, but I felt it, you know. And so it was hard. That was a really hard way because I don't have closure. I'll never know what actually happened to Sally, and it was just hard. It was just hard. And if somebody did grab her, she definitely would have died just from, she was like 15 years old and her life was me. She wouldn't have ate or drank. And so it was really, really hard. Yeah, the tattoos that I have are cultural and part of how I physically pray. But yeah, so it's like I'm like both like already like I'm mourning. There's so much grief. My emotions are all over the place. And I'm like, and I'm happy I planted potatoes. And I had a good Sunday dinner with my family yesterday, and we started doing those about, oh, it's been about 2 months now. I just said we should start doing Sunday dinners. For no real reason. Like, there's nothing celebrating. We're just eating dinner together, and it's been nice. It's also been a way for me to get over like the anticipatory anxiety I have of like family holidays and stuff. I don't know. It's making it like less pressure because it's like everybody just brings something. Yesterday was a little bit fancier because it was Easter, but not really. I just made a ham and some scalloped potatoes and some rolls, and everybody else brought a couple things. So, but it's been good. We don't have much family left now. Um, we all fit in a front room. So it's, not a bad idea. And a lot of the family that I do have left is much older. So um, it's probably now or never. And so that has been, yeah, it is just. Yeah, somebody said when a person is dealing with grief, there are no right or wrong answers. Yeah, yeah, Sally. And you know what? I think people don't understand that, like, and there's been studies and stuff, and they talk about it a little bit more lately, but like the loss of a pet, especially a pet that you've had for a really long time, the grief is literally no different than when you lose a loved one. With Sally, I was absolutely wrecked for, I mean, it probably took me 2 or 3 months to pull out of it. And the first 2 months, it took me like a lot of like just doing nothing and like being fine, and then like completely bawling my eyes out. And then nighttime was hard because she always slept next to me. It was like there was that void, right? And it took me like microdosing ketamine, not to like escape it, but to like give my brain a break, right? From the all consuming grief and like the level of like Yeah, I can make myself cry talking about it now if I'm not careful. You know, and so it's very like people really should. I don't know. It's definitely it's not like, oh, it's just a pet. Right. They're you love them, and you love them almost more than you do a human, because a pet's love is absolutely unconditional. Right. Like there's no arguments between you and the pet. There's no like past petty shit. There's no like, it's just pure love. That animal loves you even if you're a piece of shit and treat your dog or your cat or whatever badly. That animal loves you. You know? Um but so it's very, it's hard, you know, and I think people really like underestimate it. You know, and I know not everybody will feel that way. Some people are just unattached emotionally to animals or whatever, you know. But for me, it was like it. First, I like fell hard into work. You know, and that is one way that I can cope with things. Sometimes, if I work, I don't think about it. Right, I'm like too busy working, you know. But there can be an unhealthy balance to that too. And I say that as a person that also used work to like, not necessarily like deal with my trauma, right, or like how I was feeling about things, or like fear or things, you know. But it's been an experience, and I you know, I wouldn't trade it. I'll never forget Sally, and I'll never, you know, but like I feel that way about all of my animals, you know. And where we live, sometimes it can be like nature's metal. You know, so like I've lost animals to other animals, right? Like to predators, or to, you know, sometimes you never know what happens. And but the only thing that I do know for sure is that they had a really, really good life. You know, and that's what I do for all my animals, even my livestock, even the ones that end up in my freezer. Right? Like people are like, "Oh, you're so cold-hearted," but I'm like, "Well, no, it's actually like a part of like my love for animals, and my love for like being in a part of the cycle." And like I know that my cows and my chickens and my goats and my pigs, I know whatever animal that I'm working with throughout the season, I know that they've had like a really amazing life, you know. And it's not like I differentiate. It's not like I don't grieve for the animals that we end up eating, right? Like it's just that like it's a cycle, and I can't remove myself from it, because if I remove myself from it, more damage is done, right? Because big corporation doesn't care if you don't eat meat, you eat their vegetables that they fertilize with the, you know, horrible animal conditions they keep. You know, and so I would just rather be a good steward in any way I can. Um, but you know, and so it's Monday morning. It's April Fool's Day. Got a new puppy, losing another puppy. um, and I'm just kind of getting by. I'm not looking forward to the heat that's coming. I'm excited about spring, but this week we have like one day that's supposed to be 85 degrees out. And that's not super hot, but it can be hot enough to damage like spring greens and crops and wild plants, you know? And so it is just, I don't know. Plus, I'm gonna have to like put a fan in my greenhouse, because nothing. If it's 85 degrees outside, even if I have the doors open in the greenhouse, I need to order a shade cloth. That's what I need to do. It's just gonna be expensive because it's a relatively, well, it's like a medium-sized greenhouse. It's not massive or anything, but you know, it's big enough to cost money, right? I can't just throw a towel over it. Um, but somebody says, "Is she your MTHR mother?" Um, I don't know who they're talking to, or if they're talking about my dog being my mother, but yeah, my family moderates this. It's my husband and my daughter, of which my daughter's about to have a birthday pretty soon. Handful of days, she'll turn 17. But she is definitely my daughter, so fuck around and find out. Like her capacity to block people, and like deal with that type of stuff. And um, I love her very much. We laugh all the time. And then, you know, but someone says, that is a question. Does henbit have medical benefits? Yeah, henbit, she's really used to like induce like sweating. She's good for fevers and things like that. Also, I see a lot of people, I ought to make a video on her. Um, I see a lot of people starting to make the typical like wild springs, like wild food in the spring and showing henbit, and I'm like, have you really eaten a large amount of henbit? Because she's also like a pretty serious laxative. And sometimes I find that information to be right up there with the same people that tell you to wipe your ass with Mullen. It's the people who haven't had a lot of actual in contact experience with Mullen, because she gives a lot of like dermatitis on contact because she's got little razor sharp hairs all over her, right? She might feel fuzzy, but never wipe with Mullen. You can end up in the hospital with like a really bad burning sensation from all these little microscopic hairs, just like fiberglass, right? But henbit, she has good properties, right? Like in really small amounts you can like break a fever by inducing sweating. You can like She's a pretty good lymphatic kidney type stimulator, make you pee a lot. But henbit is really really good at making you shit your brains out. So when I see people be like, I'm making henbit pesto, I'm like, why? Why? You are going to regret that, right? Like you're never like, it's my favorite thing to make every year, unless you have like a thing for shitting yourself. And it always makes me giggle when I see it. A little bit's all right, but like, man, that is rough. And I feel bad because um that type of information gets put out there, and like beginning herbalists and beginning like wild crafters and stuff, they're like, yes, I identified henbit, I'm gonna make a big old batch of henbit, and then they shit their brains out, and then they're like afraid to eat wild plants. Right? And I'm like, man. So she's there, she's not bad, but just take it real easy with her and use her more like a small medicine than a big meal. Like something like nettle. You can cook her in the spring and eat her all day long, and she's fantastic. Or even chickweed, although chickweed, if you keep eating enough, you'll also shit your brains out. But there are others that are edible, but they're more medicinal than edible. Does that make sense? Like you want to work it into your diet, but you don't want it to be like a meal in your diet, unless you're dealing with like horrible constipation, you know. But it's just funny to me sometimes. Because I'm like, oh man, that's gonna be rough. I should probably make a series about it. Just like random being like, did somebody tell you to eat a whole bunch of that? Hold up. Because it's gonna get rough. And it's gonna be one of those situations where like you're telling God or whatever that like you'll never do XYZ again if it just stops. Right? You're like, please. You're like starting to reason with the universe because you're like, there's nothing left inside of me. Um, but it's just one of those things. Sometimes people won't learn until they learn. Um, so it's Monday morning, and I keep saying that like it's gonna make a difference. And it's April Fool's Day, and I hope you don't trick too many people. I have quite a bit of stuff that I gotta do today. I gotta do a town run. Um, we gotta get a hold of the vet again for our elderly dog and see, what's what, and just kind of exist. And I don't know. Spring sometimes can be a brutal transition. Um, but I am glad. I think this is day 31 of tea time. It's at least day 32. Right? I don't count the weekends, but like I think this is like a consecutive um, month straight, and that is a big deal to me, and it's made a big difference in my life, and I've talked about it a bunch. But tomorrow I'll probably talk about it a lot because I'm going to actually count to see how many days it's been, and um, talk about what I feel like it's done in like you know, a big realm. But big difference, big realm. I don't know words. I'm on puppy time still. I did sleep better last night, but it's kind of like when you're a new mom or whatever, have a new baby, and like any sound, you're like, huh. You're like, you move, like at any time there's any sound. But so if you would like to support my capacity to be here with you, to talk about the hard times, the good times, what's going on in my life, to be a real human, to learn freely, to do Q&As and all this kind of stuff, do consider becoming a member. It's a way to just throw me a couple bucks a month to help support, keep me flush with tea in my pot and a roof over my head and my ability to teach freely. There's nothing hidden behind a paywall. I do give early access to videos if I happen to upload them during the week. If you can't afford to be a member, don't worry. Those videos are always released on weekends, so it's more like a time wall than a paywall. You could also call something home from my apothecary. I make all different kinds of things. I've got books, tooth powder, herbal synergism capsules. There really is something for everybody. You can use the one-time code TEATIME, TEATIME, to save 10% off of anything you call home. And it's exclusively what we do for a living. There is nothing else. It's how I'm able to teach freely and be present and be my weird self. And so it really, really goes a long way, especially if you subscribe to something that I make. You can also make sure that you like, comment, share, turn on notifications, subscribe. Sharing is super important because it helps other people realize that they are smart enough to do this too. It gets my work out there. It tells the algorithm that I'm worth showing to people, and it's a fantastic way to support me if you can't support me monetarily. I mean, and even if you can, it's still really helpful. I'd really love for both things to happen if you're capable. So, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I'm glad that you got to meet the new puppy, and I will see everybody tomorrow morning. Bye, folks.